The first time I stood in the presence of the Zarathian queen, I felt as though my bones were made of glass. Her throne chamber stretched like the interior of a cathedral, its walls plated in metal that shimmered like liquid silver. On either side, soldiers with scaled armor and eyes like molten bronze held spears tipped with glowing crystal. And there, seated upon a dais of blackstone, was Queen Aelira, ruler of the Zarathian dominion. Beside her stood her daughter, Princess Calith, the one I had avoided since my arrival. I bowed, stiff and awkward, though humans were not expected to. "Captain Darius Holt," the queen said, her voice carrying the weight of command that seemed older than stars. "You have aided our fleets against the Riven swarm, and for that we owe you gratitude. But there is a personal matter to address." Her golden eyes flicked toward her daughter. Calith's gaze lingered on me, unblinking, a storm of emotions I couldn't read. I shifted my stance, wishing I were anywhere else in the galaxy. "You keep distance from her," the queen said, narrowing her eyes. "Why?" The throne room fell silent. Beginning. I'd been stationed with the Zarathian Dominion for nearly 6 months, a liaison between our fragile human colonies and their far larger empire. On paper it was an honor. In reality it was suffocating. The Zarathians were not cruel, but they were intense. Everything about them, heightened senses, aggressive courtship rituals, sharp-edged traditions, made a human like me feel out of place. Especially around Calith. She was different from her kin. Curious about humans, endlessly so. She sought me out, asked questions, invited me to sparring pits, to ceremonial feasts where entire beasts roasted over fire crystals. She even insisted on walking with me through the palace gardens, where alien flowers pulsed like living lanterns. But I always kept a step back. A hand's breadth of space. Enough distance that no one could mistake my politeness for intent. I'd seen what happened when a human got too close to royal blood in another empire. Never ended well. And there was something else. Something I hadn't told anyone. One night, during a patrol across the asteroid belt, Calith had thrown herself into combat beside me. Her movements were lethal elegance, her spear cutting down Riven drones like paper. She had saved my life twice in less than an hour. But when the last drone fell, and her blade dripped with alien ichor, she had looked at me with something fierce, raw, and frightening. It was not hatred. It was not hunger. It was longing. And I feared it. So when the queen demanded my answer in her throne room, I straightened, inhaled, and spoke with the bluntness of a soldier. "Because, Majesty," I said, my voice echoing across the hall, "if I don't, it will destroy both our peoples." Murmurs rippled through the guards. Calith stiffened, her eyes flashing. "Explain," the queen commanded. I forced my hands to unclench. "Humans. We are fragile to your kind. Our bones break easier. Our hearts don't beat as long. You live centuries. We're lucky if we see 80. What your daughter feels." I hesitated, aware of Calith's sharp intake of breath. "It cannot last without one of us being shattered. And if I let myself step closer, I fear I will not stop." Calith's voice rang out, raw with emotion. "So you admit it, you do feel it too." Her words struck harder than any blade. I glanced at her, at the warrior princess whose presence had haunted my every waking moment. She stood tall, but her hands trembled by her sides. "Yes," I admitted. "And that's why I stay away." The queen leaned forward, her expression unreadable. "You fear love, Captain Holt. Or you fear its consequences." "Both," I said simply. For a long moment, silence weighed heavier than any command. Then the queen dismissed the guards with a flick of her hand. The chamber emptied, leaving only the three of us. Elira's golden eyes softened, not as a ruler but as a mother. "Do you know the truth of our history, human?" she asked. I shook my head. She rose from her throne, descending the steps with the grace of a predator. "Long ago, when Zarathians first reached the stars, we encountered a race much like yours. Short-lived, reckless, bright-burning. They called themselves the Tavari. My ancestor fell in love with one, despite every warning. Their bond reshaped empires, forged alliances. But when the Tavari aged and died, my ancestor went mad with grief. Whole fleets were lost to her despair." Her gaze pierced me. "You are right to fear. Such bonds can shake the foundations of kingdoms." Kalitha's voice broke, softer now. "And yet you deny that such bonds are real." The queen looked at her daughter, then at me. "I do not deny it. But I would not see history repeat." I clenched my fists. This was exactly why I had kept distance. Yet standing there, facing Kalitha's wounded stare, I realized that my silence had hurt her more than truth ever could. So I told them both. "Your Majesty, I don't avoid your daughter out of disrespect. I avoid her because she deserves someone who won't leave her broken. Someone who can give her centuries, not decades. I can't be that." Kalitha's sharp breath echoed like a knife drawn. "And you think I get to choose so little for myself?" Her eyes blazed, her spines flaring slightly with emotion. "I know your years are short. I know your body would wear before mine. But when you fought beside me, when you stood bleeding and still raised your rifle, I knew then I wanted you at my side. Even for a day, even for a heartbeat. Do not dare tell me what I should value." Her voice cracked, the raw sincerity striking me deeper than any speech ever had. The queen studied us in silence, her expression unreadable. Then slowly she turned and returned to her throne. "You have given me your answer, Captain Holt," she said at last. "And it is one I never expected. You fear not my wrath, not politics, but the pain of love itself. Perhaps that makes you wiser than most who stood here before." She looked at her daughter. "And you, Kalith, must choose whether such pain is worth the joy it brings." Ending. In the weeks that followed, the palace atmosphere shifted. Kalith no longer chased me through every hall, no longer forced invitations into my hands. Instead, she gave me space, yet never absence. She was there on the training fields, in the strategy chambers, in the quiet gardens. Always present, always watching. One evening, after a skirmish with Riven raiders, I found her waiting outside my quarters. "You still keep distance," she said quietly. I sighed. "It's safer that way." She tilted her head. "For whom? Me or you?" I didn't answer. Kalith stepped closer, close enough that the faint glow of her eyes lit my face. "My mother asked why you kept distance. You answered with fear. I will ask again one day, human, but not now. When I do, I expect a different answer." And she turned, her cloak whispering against the floor, leaving me with a heart pounding too fast for comfort. The queen never raised the matter again. But sometimes during councils, I caught her watching me with something like respect and pity. I had given her my answer, and it had surprised her, perhaps even moved her. But the truth was, the distance I kept was not just to protect Kalith. It was to protect myself. Because the moment I stepped closer, I knew I would never want to let go. And in a universe of endless wars and fragile peace, love like that was the most dangerous weapon of all.